It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
This is the Happy Families podcast. I'm Dr. Justin Coulson here with my wife and mum to our 6 kids, Kylie. Today's the day, Kylie. Today is the day that the all-new Season 2 of Parental Guidance hits TV screens around the nation. Channel 9 this very evening. And to kick it all off, we thought that on the Happy Families podcast today, we would do something different. We're going to have a chat, not with the stars of the show, but with the super brain behind the show. Her name is Melissa Maclean. Mel Maclean is the executive producer of Parental Guidance. She's the one who hatched the idea in the very first place, right when it was not even called Parental Guidance. And she joins us on the podcast today. Mel, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me. That's quite the introduction. I can't take full credit, you know.
Mel, I think that you can. Today, we're going to bestow it upon you. All credit to Mel. I know that there's an amazing team behind the show. There really is an exceptional group of people, but you're the one who's getting the glory today. And we're doing something different. It's normally me who asks the questions, but today, something different. Kylie is going to be the interviewer because I already know the answers to most of the questions, I think, given that I'm on the show. So I'm going to take a back seat, which is really hard for me on the podcast, as Kylie will attest.
No.
You're laughing at me.
He says that I'm going to do the interview, but we'll see, because usually he takes over.
You watch. I'm going to be exceptional. I'm going to be quiet. Kylie, the interview is yours. Mel, get ready for the interview of your life from Kylie Coulson, the co-host of the Happy Families podcast.
Mel, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the interview, I think that we might need to just make sure that Justin stays grounded, even though he thinks that the world revolves around him.
Come on. Hey, I'm trying to be quiet here. You can't do this to me.
In our house, I just see him as one of the 8 mouths that need to be fed. So I'm thinking about the show and I'm wondering what your criteria was for selecting a parenting expert, because clearly it didn't have much to do with being a handyman or even needing to know how to change a light bulb, let alone being much use to anyone during the middle of the night.
Oh, Kylie.
So what was your criteria? I'm really interested to know.
Well, sometimes you just have to settle, Kylie.
No,
that's not what happens. That's not what happens. We really were looking for someone who genuinely knew their stuff, and Justin had the letters, so we were pretty impressed by that. And I saw a TED Talk of Justin's called Raising Rebels and thought, this is the guy. This is our parenting expert. And fortunately, everyone at 9 agreed. So we had our parenting expert. And the good news is he doesn't have to do much. He sits there and talks.
You know what? That's actually really true. The filming takes, 5-6 days in studio with the families, going through so much stuff. And for the most part, Mel says, Justin, just don't say anything yet. And I just sit on the couch and listen.
That must have been so hard for you.
So hard. But then, as Mel, I'm sure will attest, it's almost like, you know, when you're holding the dog back, the dog wants to chase the birds, and you say, wait. And then when you say, go, and the dog just goes for it. And
it's an avalanche, wasn't it, Mel, when you finally let it loose?
That's right. It was so great when Justin would come in at the end of a really fantastic conversation between the parents and just sort everybody out. Give us a bit of Justin wisdom.
Justin wisdom. I love it.
Well, I know what he's like to live with. I'm wondering, what was he like on set? Was he a bit demanding? Was he a prima donna?
Apart from the blue M&Ms, no, there were no blue M&M requests. He was so great on set. Something that I really love about working with Justin is he's very open-minded and he stays in his lane. He's the parenting expert and he says, Mel, you're the TV person. What do you want to do? Or he just works in with everybody else. And seeing Justin and Ali work together was really, really lovely to see. Just 2 fantastic brains working to make great TV that was informative and entertaining.
And you're going to do another interview soon with Ali towards the end of the show. And I can't wait to hear the questions that you have for her based on what you're doing to me right now with Mel. I'm just so excited for that interview too.
Lighthouse Parenting is about arming our children with tools to make good decisions in life when we're not able to be there.
I'm off to school now, Mummy.
Have a good day.
Mwah.
In a world filled with some less than positive reality TV shows that families can't actually sit down and watch together, parental guidance has come onto the scene and just given us something beautiful to sit down and enjoy together as a family. Who came up with the original concept?
It really grew over time. It started off as a fairly modest show looking at different parenting styles and how they might do homework or how they might do mealtime. But
so more documentary style?
Yeah, more chat show almost.
Okay.
Chat show meets documentary. That's right. So almost embedding with the family to watch what they do for a week. And what we realised was when I came on board, it's not going to be very illustrative to families at home. It doesn't compare apples with apples. What we really need is to create some challenges, some scenarios that each family can go out and do, and then we see their parenting styles in that situation, a very specific situation where we can see actionable ways that people parent.
How did you come up with the challenges? Because they were really good, entertaining, but like you said, illustrative. They really kind of pulled parenting apart in a way that we've never seen before.
So some of the challenges, like the family photo shoot, are very much from personal experience. We know that that's really, really hard to take your kids and get them smiling. You've got almost opposing desires. The kids want to run around and play, and the parents are trying to get this great photo. You're on a time crunch. There's a lot going on in a family photo shoot. But then other things came from issues that we knew people are talking about, things like digital safety online. We knew everyone was talking about it. How can we illustrate that in a safe yet really interesting way?
From my perspective, I'm just one, but from my perspective, season 1 was just brilliant TV, and it was so great for even just our family to sit down and watch it together and have the conversations with our kids. I'm wondering what the feedback was for you guys and how that then infiltrated into what we will now see in season 2.
Parental Guidance Series 1 went down an absolute treat. My favourite feedback was overhearing parents at the playground talking about it and going, oh, did you see this? And what about this? Oh, I don't know if I would have done it that way. Oh, I would have. Actually having conversations about parenting was really exciting. So we knew we had the groundwork laid. Everyone understood this idea of parenting styles and what the show was and the fundamentals of the parenting styles. So what we wanted to do with season 2 was really take things up a notch and look at parenting in the digital age, online safety, look at the really curly questions like bullying and bystanders, and also take on a few of the teenager topics. We haven't fully gone there in every way, but explicit content on the bus, on the way to school. How are we dealing with that? So we were a bit scared of teenagers the first time around, but we gave it a go second time.
So I'm going to jump in here. I haven't said anything for 10 minutes. This is a record on the Happy Families podcast. What I loved, and Mel sort of tapped into it with the whole parents talking about it in the park. I've got a mate who, I've got a lot of bike riding mates, and one of the guys, just totally not a TV guy, was chatting with me as we were riding, and he was like, this TV show you're on, I watched every part of it, and I didn't realize it was so good until I was at footy with the boys on the weekend, and I was standing on the sideline, and a couple of the footy dads were talking about this show. Like, it got grandparents and mums and dads and kids all wanting to talk about and compare how they're doing in their families to how they did it when they were raising their kids, or how they're doing it right now, or how the neighbor or the sister-in-law or whoever is doing it. Like, it just gets people thinking about parenting, and I love the way it sort of crossed all of those boundaries. It, like you said, Kylie, it feels like it's the kind of show that brings everyone together. And I can't help myself. I've got to put a plug in for tonight. Season 2 is going to light those conversations up in ways that season 1 never did. Season 1 was great, but season 2 just mind blown. Anyway, back to the interview. Sorry, couldn't help myself.
Well, the best conversation I actually had was with a group of strangers. I was in a creative space, and a grandma actually said, "Have you guys been watching this TV show that's on Channel 9?" And I decided to actually not get involved in the conversation. I just wanted to see it unfold. They had no idea who I was. And they were just reveling as grandparents in what they were seeing, and the conversations that they were then having with their husbands, and as a consequence, the way they were trying to interact with their grandchildren. And it was just such a delightful conversation to have, and they had no idea.
Did you jump in and say, how good is that parenting expert? And he's so handsome.
No, I didn't.
No, of course you didn't.
I totally left that one out. Well, obviously, things are going to air tonight, and we're all waiting, anticipating to see what unfolds. I don't even know if you can tell me, but are there some standout moments that we should be looking out for?
Oh, tonight's huge.
Oh,
Tonight's
yes.
huge. Seriously.
Seriously.
I know this is Mel's interview, but I just got to say, tonight is so big. Mel, I'm not going to steal your thunder. What are we in for tonight, and why is it must-watch television?
Oh, it absolutely is must-watch television. It's just extraordinary what unfolds tonight. We get to know our first lot of parents, these are the focus parents. So we get to know the gentle parents, the lighthouse parents, the outback parents, and the honest parent.
Honest parenting is not holding back. I'm very brutally honest.
Do you need spring onion?
Yes, we definitely need spring onion for curry. I need everything green pretty much that's in there. It can be confronting to the kids at times. Not lettuce for a curry, mate.
Oh, it's green.
And straight away, they're all really compelling, but I'm burying the lead here. We get stuck into the grist of online strangers and being safe online.
I just got goosebumps.
I had no idea before we did this challenge, and I have kids in the age bracket, so I really should have known better, but I learned a tremendous amount. We were very fortunate, and we couldn't have done it without the involvement of the AFP. They have a centre to counter child exploitation, and Detective Superintendent Jane Crosling became involved to help us design the challenge and also to give the parents some actual advice on how to deal with this really massive issue. It's actually terrifying how big this issue is.
Mel, one of the things that blows me away with this particular challenge and this particular issue is, as parents, we tend to be so sick of talking about online safety and screens and social media and all that stuff that we kind of just roll our eyes and go, yeah, whatever. And when I'm in schools, principals tell me consistently, the parents don't show up for the digital talks. And so I don't do any digital talks because I've got a number of friends who do digital talks, and they've got to work so hard to get the parents to show up. And it's really the parents that are already on top of it that are showing up anyway. But when you watch what happens in episode 1 tonight, and I can't say anything other than it will rock your world. It will absolutely rock your world, just what life is actually like online for our kids. This was one of the most compelling, eye-opening, riveting moments of me sitting in that studio with all those families for the entire week. This was one of the moments, and I cannot emphasize enough how important it is, not just for the entertainment value of watching a great show, but if you care about your kids, this is an episode you've got to watch.
Absolutely. And I think people do need to embrace this idea that you can do something and it's never too late.
Mm.
One of the things that I think most people I've spoken to were nervous about was season 1 was the judgment that would take place between and this competitive notion around parenting. Obviously, season 1, I think, allayed those fears for everybody. It was just so beautifully done. And I want to use the word beautifully. It was so beautifully done because I feel like everybody was able to come away feeling whole from the experience, regardless of what their parenting style was. How did you manage that in the studio?
It's really tricky to be choosing a best parenting style without things getting personal and competitive. Absolutely. Yeah. What we tried to do was make that level an added layer. It wasn't the main game. The main game is to learn from each other and talk about these issues. any best parenting style layer has to just come on top of that as a little bit of a icing on the cake. It's not what it's really all about. And even the way the thank you is phrased, it's thank you for sharing your best parenting style. It's not, you're the winner, here's a prize and a badge. We never talk about winners. We just talk about who subjectively, in your opinion, has the best parenting style with these very specific criteria. So I think by doing that, we try at least to make it as non-competitive and everybody grows out of it as possible. So it really is a thank you and a pat on the back to who is showing us and the most and who we're learning from the most.
Well, I have to admit that there is I don't think you could pay me enough money to be one of those families sitting in that room. So much courage to actually take the leap and say, I want to learn, and I want to learn in a public forum, because that's what you're doing. You're essentially recognizing that there's things that you can learn from others as a result of your opportunity to be there, but you're also in the spotlight and everyone gets to see your foibles, your weaknesses, as well as your strengths, but they're all there.
Yeah, the generosity of each of those parents, and they are all genuinely great parents. They wouldn't be there if they weren't. We wouldn't put bad parents on TV. That would be unfair. So they're all great parents, and there's something to learn from every one of them.
And not only they're brave, but they're willing to have completely direct and sometimes really hard conversations. But like you said, Mel, there's this openness, there's this generosity, there's this, okay, well, I'm on the show, so hit me with it because I'm going to learn and grow with this feedback, even if I don't like the feedback. Like, I think it's extraordinary that they do it. And, the other thing that I love, Ali and I aren't choosing the winners. I really appreciate that they're deciding, and I know we're not using the word winner at all, really, but they're deciding who's going to get the goods at the end. They're deciding who they're going to elevate, who they're going to celebrate, who they're going to hold up and say, we really appreciate you and the way you're raising your kids.
Well, this is really a one-of-a-kind TV show because in every other reality TV show, there is a specific winner and it's, elimination rounds. Whereas what parental guidance is basically saying is we want to elevate you. We want to see more of what you have to offer. We want to learn from what you're doing as a parent to kind of, better supplement what we're doing. I love that about parental guidance.
Oh, I knew we never wanted to eliminate. I said, that is not an option. We can't eliminate people. They don't learn anything if they're not eliminated. You're taking out, I think of it as nippers. You know what nippers, where they've got to run to catch the flag and it's always the slowest kid that gets out. It's like, that's kids never getting faster because they always go out in the first round. So we can't eliminate. We're just leaving behind if we eliminate. So we have to keep everybody together and it's a lot more positive that way.
I love it. In spite of the positivity, were there some moments that were pretty tense that you had to kind of navigate?
Oh, so many moments. There's enough going on without eliminating people. We have the challenge that you'll see tonight is actually breathtaking. The one about the online stranger where we have the AFP. As soon as the AFP enter the room, everybody sits up straight. Are they here for my parking fines? Are they here because they saw me on my mobile phone driving? It's really serious stuff. So, and the bullying bystander challenge is another one where you just go, wow, what do we need to teach our kids so that we can stop this bullying problem? So we don't bully the kids, don't worry. It's very much a bystander challenge. There are lots of moments that are very tense, but we're always learning from.
As we sat down with the kids last season and watched it, what was really cute was going, oh, mum and dad are a bit of them. And, oh, they're also a bit of them. And, yeah, you're not really any one parenting style. I mean, as the executive producer, what is it that you're hoping parents are going to walk away with after watching season 2?
I hope that parents take away the idea that they need to be autonomy supportive. I think in different ways, that's very Justin speak, but people need to let kids make up their own mind about stuff. Don't make them wear jumpers if they don't feel cold. Don't worry about it. Like, they'll figure it out. Let them have safe, natural consequences. Let them have real choices over their lives, because that comes up over and over again when kids feel like they can make their own choices and their parents are supportive of that, the relationship is better, which means they're more likely to be doing what you want them to do anyway, and they're happier. So just do that. Is that the right answer, Justin? Is that the takeaway for the parents?
So funny. Just before we wrap the podcast, Kylie, for somebody who doesn't like doing interviews, Mel, your feedback?
Well, as a professional in the television industry, Kylie, I can advise you that your voice is really lovely, really warm. You're engaged in the question asking.
Look at this.
And you're curious, which is all you really need to be a great interviewer. So I think you could do this a little more often.
You're very kind, Mel. Thanks.
Maybe I'll have Mrs. Happy Families joining me on some interviews moving forward. Your questions, Kylie, if I can throw this in there as well. Your questions were great. Top stuff.
Thank you.
It was great conversation.
Really was. Thanks for having me.
The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rillon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. Hey, thanks for listening. Hope you're loving it. We'd love your feedback. Podcasts at happyfamilies.com.au. And we'll see you tomorrow on the Happy Families podcast.